Then I was like, this is the perfect title and perfect thumbnail. And I was right. Like after I switched the title and thumbnail to the current one, the video was doing so much better.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Kirby Conversations. I'm Sean Douglas. I'm a writer, podcaster, and teacher. And today I am joined by a special guest. We are here with Given from Channel Kirby, a popular Kirby YouTube channel that I'm a big fan of. And I've been thinking for a while that he would be a great person to have on the show. So welcome, Given. Thanks for being here.
Hello everyone, I'm Channel Kirby. I create videos on YouTube about everything Kirby, basically, and thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, it's great having you here. So this episode will be just an interview with Given here. And before we start, my usual spiel too about our network. So we are part of the Soundstone Podcast Network that also includes Flashback 64, Pixels and Polygons, and Nick McConnell's Instruction Derby. That's a new stream that also joined our network recently. So we very much encourage people to check those out as well. So Given, just starting out here, starting from the beginning, what are your earliest experiences with Kirby? Like, what would you say your background is as someone with the Kirby series?
I would say that's actually pretty interesting because Kirby wasn't always my favorite franchise since the beginning. I practically grew up with the Nintendo 64, GameCube, and Wii all together. And was heavily influenced by those open sandbox 3D games from the Nintendo 64 and GameCube, like Banjo-Tooie, Mario Sunshine, or Chibi Robo. So I always loved open 3D games more than 2D platformers, which is why Kirby 64 was a game I enjoyed, but always I saw it as a lesser limited experience as a child. And this is also why Air Ride and Air Ride on the GameCube or The Amazing Mirror left such a strong impression because they offered this freedom to the extent I wanted without being limited to a level selection screen from which you pick your course from. And Air Ride having the 3D gameplay I always wanted, and Amazing Mirror fundamentally offering an open world. But it's not like I didn't enjoy Kirby. He was always a part of my childhood, but not as strongly as those other grand adventures. But the moment I think this mindset completely shifted and where Kirby became my favorite franchise was, I think, around Kirby Superstar Ultra. I think it came out in 2009, in Europe at least. I didn't even knew it was a remake of the original Superstar and saw screenshots and magazines, and the concept of having multiple scenarios in one game looked very refreshing. Um, it was also the time when I discovered YouTube and the Kirby animation show, the anime, which basically cemented Kirby to be my favorite series because up until this point, for me at least, having a faithful show to a gaming IP was unheard of. So the only one I knew was the weird CGI Donkey Kong Country series. I don't know if you heard about this one.
Yeah, I haven't seen that much of it, but I do remember seeing it, I think, on TV when I was a kid. I don't know if those are kind of flashbulb memories and I saw it later on, but I do remember that being a thing.
Yeah, it was very wonky. And so having a full show of 100 episodes, I think the Kirby anime has 100 episodes, that
Yeah.
translates the Kirby IP into a relatively competent show, was a dream come true for me, basically. And I guess it was also the perfect time to become a more active fan since Epic Yarn and Return to Dreamland followed the years after. And as we know, the franchise is on an upwards trend since then. I think you could say Return to Dreamland is basically the starting point for the success of the series up until now.
Yeah, and you don't have to tell us exactly how old you are or anything. But would you say that shift had happened more when you were like a child, or were you more of like a teenager
I
then,
think it
or an
was
adult?
pretty much like when I was like a young teen. It was that time, which is pretty ironic because that's usually the age where you grow out of Kirby, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think that shows that Kirby is for everyone. And we just did an episode about the anime, and one of their big goals with the anime was to bring in new people that weren't Kirby fans at the time. And we were observing on that episode how it seems like that's still something that's bringing new people in. So it sounds like that was successful in your case at being maybe a piece of media that brought you into Kirby when you weren't originally like you, or at least it didn't kind of wasn't one of your favorite ones necessarily at the time, and that worked to kind of change your mind in that way.
Yeah, probably. The animation show is probably responsible for my passion for Kirby and why my channel exists in the first place, I would say. Because in another dimension, when I was thinking about what kind of YouTube channel I could do, I may have become probably a channel Chibi Robo. I don't know.
Mhm.
Something different, probably.
That could always be your alternate channel in the future, right?
Yeah.
How people have their main one, they have their alt one on the side. I have never played Chibi Robo, but I'm very familiar with it. I know it's on the Nintendo Classics library now, and that's definitely something I do need to play eventually because
Yeah,
it looks really interesting and
yeah,
creative.
that's a great chance to revisit it.
So what made you decide that you wanted to start a YouTube channel about Kirby?
I think I wanted to have a strong identity on my channel. You know, the good old question when people ask, why should someone watch your videos? I knew I couldn't simply say because they are high quality, since everyone likes to think that about their videos. So I also liked how, for example, when Nintendo announced Pikmin 3 Deluxe for the Switch, for example, people in the comment sections were like, Arlo is screaming right now. Or people go to his comment section and saying something like they don't even plan to buy the game, but wanted to see his thoughts or reaction. This always resonated with me, and I wanted to become this person for Kirby. And I think it's also nice to have those franchise dedicated channels for fans. Like when there is a new Kirby announcement, you know, you can go to this channel that will talk about it more deeply than others, maybe.
Mhm. Yeah, and could you remind me? I know I've looked back through your library. When did you start the channel? About how many years ago was it started?
Let me think. I started the channel in 2024, around the time they announced the Forgotten Land, and yeah, I think it was
Okay.
around that
Yeah, I thought it was a
time.
fairly recent channel, and it feels like you've gotten a lot of traction in a fairly short span of time. I know some of your videos have more than 100,000 views. You have a very popular boss ranking video, and I've been very impressed, but at the same time, they are really well-produced videos. I think you do a really good job of committing to a central theme. You have that Kirby with a bow tie character hosting everything, representing you. So
Well,
where did
thank you
some
very
of
much.
the thematic concept behind it come from?
I think it was pretty spontaneous. I was just like, as I was saying, I just wanted to have this Kirby channel, and I was thinking about potential names, and then the channel name basically comes from also from the animation show. There's this one episode, I don't know if you have saw it. It's about when DDD is like he's building the TVs for everyone to watch, and he was like channel DDD. And yeah, it's basically, I think it was like that. And it's basically, I was following this example. It was like channel DDD, and then I just took it to channel Kirby. Then I wanted to have my videos to be like visually interesting to some extent because I'm not like huge on editing. My editing is very basic. So I wanted to have somewhat of a visual identity. So I was creating this like TV layout with a little Kirby with a bow tie. Many people like to think that this is like my persona I'm using, but I like to think more of it like the Kirby is basically reacting to what I'm saying. So he's just like an host that is not talking, basically.
Yeah, I think that it's a nice touch. It adds that extra layer of personality to it and personalization to it. And I do like how your thumbnails follow common patterns and things too. They're not like someone just having a dramatic reaction to something. It's not clickbaity. You know, it's like you're talking about the sales of Air Riders or something like that, but it's not like Air Riders sold how much you won't believe it. Big expression or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
It's more nuanced. It feels more intellectual in its approach, and I like that. That's part of what we're trying to do on this show is take a bit more of a intellectual approach to Kirby, and not that everybody can't experience it their own ways or whatever works best for them, but it's nice to have a space where people are going to sit down and break down like on your channel, like break down something in detail, reflect on the industry at large. So thanks for doing that.
No, that's very true because I feel like Even like these dry topics like sales, you can do very interesting stuff with that. Like I was thinking, especially the sales video did go through so many revisions because I wanted to make a video. I feel like I don't even know, I cannot even remember anymore. It had like 3 different versions until I decided to focus on the sales because I was like thinking just a pure sales video like the Kirby Air Rider sales video is a little boring. And then, like with Air Riders, there's like this meme with this 7 billion somewhat with Nova's wish, and was thinking, yeah, I could put like a little joke in the title with the 7 billion reasons why Kirby Air Rider sales don't matter. And I feel like it sounds a little more interesting than simply saying Air Rider sales don't matter, because then the Kirby fan, the Kirby enthusiast knows there's a little joke, and everyone else is thinking, yeah, he's just what do I mean by 7 billion? So I think you can always spin those dry topics into something interesting. At least you can try.
Yeah, and speaking of Air Rider sales, now that we have more information about that, even from when you recorded that video, seems like it's actually selling all right. I think initially
Yeah.
people were thought it was a little tepid, but it seems like it's doing pretty well. Isn't it like approaching 2 million?
Yeah, I think it's like 1.7 something. For me, it was
Um,
surprising. I expected less, to be honest.
yeah, that was a pleasant surprise. This looks like it's at well, a few days ago, in Nintendo's financial reports, it said that it was at 1.76 million. So maybe whatever would be a little bit more than that by now.
I feel like considering that, like, I don't know, mothers or casual people also had the option to buy Mario Kart, and I feel like, yeah, the Kirby Air Ride is also very expensive. The Switch 2 is very expensive. I feel like there were so many odds against Air Rider sales being good. So I expected, or I hoped it would reach at least 1 million. So I was, yeah, positively surprised.
Yeah,
Get so many.
it was a tough year to release a kart racer. You had
That's
Mario
true.
Kart. There
Yeah.
was the new Sonic racing game that came out too. So there's a lot of competition.
Yeah, I think Kirby Air Ride has also surpassed Sonic, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it did. I think I remember reading that.
Yeah.
Which that game actually I thought got pretty good reviews. Like I might check that one out too at some point.
Yeah, I also didn't play it, but I think the Sonic uh, Racing Cross World, I think is the title, is also very popular with people.
Yeah, I've liked some of the Sonic racing games in the past. So we have thought on this show about maybe doing an episode at some point where we just compare a bunch of character-based racing games that came out around the same time. Do compare Mario and Crash Team Racing, I like a lot as well.
Hmm.
Sonic racing games, Kirby racing games, and just look at, do a compare and contrast between them. And Kirby is so different, right? It's almost
Yeah, definitely.
I've heard people describe it as not even being a racing game, which I don't know that I would quite say that because, like, sometimes it's a racing game, right? But then
Yeah.
sometimes it's not.
Yeah, some people also said like it's like Mario Kart and Mario Party combined, or Mario Kart and Smash combined. It's like it's really hard to put a definitive genre onto the game.
Yeah, it's sort of a vehicular combat game in a
Yeah.
way too.
Yeah.
Um, so, what is your approach to making a YouTube video?
That's a very interesting question. Normally, I like back in the day, I was basically doing videos about everything I wanted. Um, because as I was saying, I created a channel around the Forgotten Lands announcement, and after that, I was just following through. But what is actually curious, and what many viewers, especially new ones that found me in 2025, probably are not aware of, is that initially I didn't plan to become a hyper-focused Kirby channel, which I know sounds bizarre with a channel name like that. But no, originally I wanted to create a simple Nintendo-focused channel with a Kirby skin glazed over it, essentially. And if you take a look at my first videos, there are a lot of that don't have anything to do with Kirby. And even after the Forgotten Land, I think in 2024 as well, I still uploaded the occasional non Kirby video from time to time. But now, of course, Kirby videos tended to perform better, which makes naturally sense with a channel name like that. And received a lot of comments that appreciated a channel that solely focuses on Kirby. So at the end of 2024, I decided to completely focus on Kirby videos, which is probably something I should have done way earlier. And of course, I would be lying if I would say it wasn't for better numbers and views. I tend to be very transparent about this stuff. But the probably most ironic part is since I started to completely limit myself to one franchise without exceptions, my channel has been doing so much better, and I almost doubled my subscriber number in 2025. And I would even say most of my recent viewers probably are coming from 2025 videos.
Congratulations. Yeah, it seems like it's
Thank you
had
very much.
pretty rapid growth from what I understand about YouTube, and people needing to catch the wave of the algorithm and all that. It seems like you've done a good job of tapping into what people are looking for, and also having the architecture of YouTube cooperating with that as well, and wanting
Yeah.
to get your videos in front of people.
Now, of course, it has something to do with two Kirby releases coming out last year, but I also started to upload more consciously. Before, I was just uploading whatever idea I have without thinking too much, but now many videos go over so many revisions until I decided on what sounds the most interesting. For example, I was uploading the boss ranking video, as you mentioned. Before that, I was uploading boss ranking videos of basically every essential Kirby game, which culminated in this gigantic, almost 6-hour video featuring every single one of them. But before, I was uploading those boss ranking videos for almost half a year, piece by piece, which I would probably never do again, because when YouTubers talk about title and thumbnail optimization, many people assume it's always about views, money, and numbers. And while that's certainly true for many channels, I also think it's about making a topic interesting and some people would otherwise never click on. So I was never even planning to have this gigantic boss ranking video. But at the end, when I uploaded the last one, I was just thinking it probably looks more interesting to have an almost 6-hour boss ranking video that claims to have every single one of them, then putting them out piece by piece. And obviously, it worked quite fine. Yeah, I'm very glad with the result.
Hmm. Yeah, the algorithm is ultimately the reflection of the viewers, right? It's
Yeah,
not really
yeah,
like YouTube's going to
definitely.
reject you. It's that people looking at it maybe didn't click on it for whatever reason, and they're just
Yeah.
responding to what people are doing. So that's really great that you're creating something that's resonating with people.
Yeah, many people also like to claim that YouTube is mainly or mostly about luck. And while that's true to some extent, I always like to argue against luck, because there's so much in your hand when it comes to title, thumbnail, and I don't mean it like in a very Mr. Beast clickbait kind of way, but I don't know. I think you cannot always put the blame on luck when something doesn't work.
Yeah, like your channel is very curated in a very intentional way, and it's very professionally done, I would say, very polished. It's done with a lot of intentionality, and I think viewers see that, and it makes them invest in the channel and feel like, "Oh, this is a place where I can go to get really good commentary. It's gonna be entertaining. It's gonna be, humorous sometimes too. It's gonna have a lot of entertainment value while also teaching me about Kirby." And I know I've learned things from your channel as well watching it. So when you become a good resource like that, I think people do respond.
Yeah, this is like the best compliment I can get when people like coming to my channel and they're saying, for example, when there is a new Kirby game announced and they're like curious to see what I have to say. Because in my mind, I'm just a guy doing the Kirby videos, and I also honest enough to say that I'm not like the most knowledgeable Kirby fan. There's stuff I don't know, or I have to Google occasionally, or maybe even get wrong sometimes in a video. But yeah, that is it's a very great compliment. That
Mhm.
makes me feel very happy.
Yeah, I've felt that way a little too at times where I'm not necessarily the biggest Kirby encyclopedia. I really like Kirby. I
Yeah.
feel like I know more than probably a lot of people do from doing the show and just being really into the series over the course of my life. And I'm 37 now, and there are probably people who are 20 years younger than me who are just eat, sleep, and breathe Kirby and have read all the wikis and want to probe all the lore, and they probably know a lot more random trivia in certain cases than I do, or remember exactly what happened at certain points in certain games in a way might not be as fresh in my mind.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
I always feel like I come here more as someone who wants to be a resource, but is also learning along with the audience. The anime, for example, was a relatively newer thing for me. I'd seen excerpts of it, and I had seen it come out, back in the day and stuff. There was exposure I had had to it, but I never really sat down and just watched multiple episodes in a row. So
Yeah.
that was a newer experience for me. And people were telling us like, when are you going to cover the anime? And they felt like that was something that was really missing on the show.
Mm.
And my thought has always been like, well, it wasn't like we were avoiding it. It was just we hadn't gotten there yet
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I didn't know about it yet. So,
Yeah.
but it's been nice to learn along with our listeners with some of these topics as well.
Yeah, definitely. I haven't even played all the Kirby games. I don't know if this is like a this is critical information I shouldn't share, but I haven't played every Kirby game, especially like the very old spin-offs. Most of them I haven't played.
Yeah, I've
So,
never played some of them. I've never played Mass Attack. That's one I haven't played.
mm.
Um, Kirby Battle Royale. I've never played. Uh,
Yeah, it's
what
mostly
is
those very niche Kirby titles that came out in very late in the console's life cycle. I think Mass Attack and Battle Royale came out when the 3DS and the Switch were already out. So most people probably skipped it.
really? Did Mass Attack come out that late? I thought it was more
I
of a
think
DS
in
era.
2012, and I think the 3DS came out in 2011.
Interesting.
Should be something like that. So yeah,
I googled
I
Mass Attack, and I'm just getting results for a mass attack. Generally refers to a violent incident in a public place. I should probably clarify. I mean
that's
Kirby
good to
Mass Attack.
know. Yeah. I think it's also the same for Kirby Dream Land 3. Wasn't it the reason it didn't came out in the West? I think because the Nintendo 64 was already on its way. So
Yeah,
Kirby games, yeah.
I think that did overlap. Let's see. Mass Attack came out in 2011,
Oh,
and yeah, that would have been like around the same time the 3DS came out, right?
yeah. Yeah, but it's mostly the spin-offs. I think when a Kirby fan is saying like I haven't played all the games, I think they're mostly talking about the spin-offs.
Yeah, and the 3DS also came out in 2011. Mhm. Interesting.
You should
And
play Mass Attack. It's very good.
yeah, I've set it as a bit of a game for myself that I want to find it out in the wild. So, like, I know I could just go on eBay and order it, but I think it would be more fun to try to like find it in a game store somewhere or find it at a convention.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
that's why one of the reasons I haven't played it yet is because it's a bit of a scavenger hunt for myself, and it's just not one I see around very often.
Hmm.
Block Ball too. I don't think I've ever played Block Ball.
No, Block Ball, yeah.
Hmm.
Is it on the Nintendo Switch Online? I don't think so,
I don't
but
think
I'm
it
not sure.
is. People
Probably
can listen to
not.
me Google more things. Where I have never played, of course, the masterpiece that is Kirby Slide. I don't think I've
Of
ever
course,
played
yeah.
Kirby Slide.
How could we forget? Can you even play it in any way? Can you play it on an emulator or something? I don't even know.
It's probably preserved somewhere.
Yeah,
We have joked
I guess.
internally with our show that like we should do an episode entirely about Kirby Slide at some point.
I was also thinking the same. I was thinking about doing like a 1 hour video about Kirby Slide, and I don't even know how I would do it, but just because it would look funny.
Well, if you ever want to come back and talk about Kirby Slide with us, I think it could be a nice opportunity to talk about the e-reader and talk about the cards. And
Yeah, yeah.
there's a whole there's layers of strategy that go into how to do a sliding block puzzle too, where there's certain strategies that even as you expand the size of a sliding block puzzle, if you know
And
certain
it was
patterns.
basically a tie-in game to the animation show, I think. So
Yeah, it was part of promoting that too. So I think there's a lot of history and interesting stuff you could still talk about, even if the actual experience of the game is quite brief.
yeah.
Endless replay value, though. You can
Probably.
keep sliding Kirby forever.
It's like the original Dreamland, 20 minutes long, but it's always fun.
Yeah.
Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. I'm Nick McConnell, and you caught me reading the instruction booklet for Street Fighter II in preparation for my weekly stream Instruction Derby, where I take a look at the creative, fun, and sometimes bizarre lost art of video game manuals. Did you know that, according to the manual for Street Fighter II on the Super Nintendo, Ryu was born in 1964, making him 62 years young, canonically? Happy birthday, Ryu. You're looking great. Did you also know that, per the manual for Laser Invasion on the Nintendo, the UN enters a conclave in order to select a new commando? Or did you know that the dancing enemies in Super Castlevania are named Paula Abgul and Fred Askare? These important facts and many more are discovered every Wednesday at noon Pacific on Instruction Derby over at internet website twitch.tv/Nick McConnell, part of the Soundstone Network.
Yeah, but coming back to the point I was making, I have another example about a video. I think this is also like a good insight for someone who maybe also does want to make a video about something. I made this video about the Air Riders review. I don't know if you have seen it. It's like about this horrific Air Riders review where someone gave it like a 4 out of 10, which would be fine if the reasoning is good, but it wasn't. So I was
Yeah, I did
thinking
see that
about,
one.
yeah, I
Mhm.
was thinking about which title and thumbnail I could use. And as I was saying, I'm a huge fan of the thumbnail comparison feature on YouTube, where you can like use up to 3 thumbnails at the same time, and then you can see which is performing the best. And I have usually a strategy by which I go, and it's like I tend to create one title and thumbnail most of the time as well that is very safe and tells you everything you need to know. One that is a little bit more clickbait, and one that is or provoking, and something, and the third one that is very experimental or weird. The same basically applies to thumbnails, as I was saying, because with such a combination, you can cover multiple ideas and options and learn more about the creative process of marketing your video according to multiple perspectives. So I was having one thumbnail that was basically like the worst Kirby review, and the generic thumbnail, and the current one, which is basically used the most ludicrous point of the review as the headline of the video. So the worst review can mean anything. I had like one title and thumbnail that was like the worst review. It can mean anything, and it's kind of is tied to the 4 out of 10 score. But saying something like Air Riders is bad because it's not a 3D Mario is a reference to the review and gives viewers a glimpse of the review I will be talking about without having to go through the stressful process of clicking on a video. So I feel like this is a very good strategy because the safe thumbnail would have been the worst Kirby Air Riders review. But then I was just reading the line in the review where this reviewer was comparing it to 3D Mario, and he was disappointed it's not 3D Mario. And then I was like, this is the perfect title and perfect thumbnail. And I was right. Like after I switched the title and thumbnail to the current one, the video was doing so much better.
Nice. Yeah, I haven't experimented with that feature that much. We're not really like a mainly YouTube kind of product, right? Like we'll put our episodes on YouTube because sometimes people listen to podcasts on YouTube. But it's always seemed like that was a really powerful feature if people knew how to use it. And I do like that you focused on that point because it is the most absurd part of that interview
And
in a
also, it makes it
way.
just more interesting, I would say.
Yeah, and people are entitled to their opinion, of course, but it always feels odd in just any review where something is criticized just because it's not something that the reviewer wants it to be.
Yeah. I think like probably the point of the review also was it was like rage bait, so people click on it. Like there were many other very ridiculous points about the review. So I feel like I probably also did do them a favor in exposing their website to more people, but I think it was worth it just for the entertaining factor.
Yeah, and I felt like you were very fair too, right? It seems like the video doesn't just exist to dunk on the writer. It's more just offering a counter argument.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
But I also have a question for you because I'm interested. How do you choose your topic for a new episode? Like, do you have like topics that you go through every year, or is it like just what you're feeling?
It is kind of what we're feeling combined to what it feels like feels more relevant for the moment. So right now, obviously, Air Riders is a big deal, so it's felt very important to focus on that. But a few months ago, someone had emailed us and asked us if we would talk more about Triple Deluxe. They listed that in another game, and that they'd be curious to see an episode about that. And that was something we hadn't covered yet, so it just felt like, okay, yeah, someone's asking for this. We haven't covered it yet. Gigi particularly likes Triple Deluxe, so that just felt like a good time to talk about that. So we're sort of trying to cover the games that we haven't covered yet, but not doing it completely linearly. And I've always wanted to avoid this thing where it's like one game per episode, where we could take like some aspect of the game that we like to talk about. Like
Hmm.
instead of saying we're going to do a Kirby 64 episode, do an episode about the copyability system in that game and how novel it is to be able to combine things. So that episode, while we talk about the game overall, we are mainly talking about that aspect of the game. And I think that will also allow us to just have an unending supply of things to talk about. Because if we just said we're going to talk about every game and just go in order, eventually you run out of games if that's the approach you're going to take. And you'd also be missing so much because I think these games have so much in them that it takes more than just one episode to cover everything we would want to cover about a given game. So hopping around, if it seems like we've been talking about older Kirby games for a while, we'll switch it up and then talk about some more recent ones, and just trying to give people a little bit of a mix of everything.
Oh, I really like that approach as well. I was doing that especially back in the day, when like many people like do this general reviews of games where like they doing like a 30-minute video about Air Riders, for example. When you could pick a specific feature of one game and make a whole video out of it, I think that is also a very interesting approach. I was also thinking about, for example, you could probably make a video about the slide move in Kirby games, the simple slide, and just go through the games, look where the slide was very, very useful and why not. And I don't know. I think it's very interesting to focus on one specific feature.
Yeah, because you could think about the game design and how the slide suddenly changes the way you can use Kirby and how it's an attack you can do even if you don't have a power, and how Kirby has limited options to attack, but now he has a way to attack that he didn't have before, right? There's
Mm.
a lot you could take out of just a single mechanic like that to
Could probably
mine it
also like,
for
yeah,
larger points and observations.
could also probably do like 3 episodes on Air Riders, like an Air Ride episode, Top Ride episode, City Trial, probably like 3 episodes. This mode is so crazy you can talk endlessly about it.
Yeah, and in some cases it's just how are we feeling about this thing now? I think that as it goes along, we're going to be coming back to some games we have talked about before. And even if maybe it felt like we kind of covered everything there was to say about some of the smaller ones, we can always come back to it a few years down the road and say, okay, it's been a few years since we did that one. Have our thoughts on this game changed? How are we feeling about it now? Do we have new insights now that we are different people with different perspectives than maybe we were 3 or 4 years ago? So I don't think we'll probably ever run out of things to talk about.
Yeah, I think this is also why it's a good idea to focus on one franchise maybe, because there are obviously some downsides to limiting yourself to one IP, because of course you're bound to the release schedule of the franchise and the publisher, what the publisher is doing with the franchise. Then you're also shackled by the quality of the franchise and if people are still interested in it. Back in the day, my sister was quite a fan of the Pokemon anime show and watched some YouTubers talking about it. And she told me some of those YouTubers struggling right now a little because the Pokemon anime isn't as popular as it used to be. So you have to keep that in mind. But I figure Kirby wasn't going anywhere, or isn't going anywhere. So even after the Forgotten Land success, it's a very consistent franchise, rich of games and lore. And I don't know, my list on video ideas will probably never dry out. It keeps growing instead. And I feel like Kirby is probably one of the most safe franchises to make videos on.
Hmm. When we first started our podcast, as we were getting it set up, we talked with, do you know who Kit and Krista are? The former
Yeah, the
Nintendo.
former Nintendo employees. Yeah.
Yeah, we talked to them for a little counseling and mentorship and advice on how to get it off the ground and what to do as content creators. And initially, Kit was wondering whether we would really have enough to talk about covering Kirby for every episode. And then after our first meeting, like when we came into the second meeting, he was saying like, now I see it and I can see how there really is all this content out there. But I think that is something that maybe people's first impressions might be, oh, there's not enough to talk about. And I even kind of I don't want to say that I didn't think there would be enough, but that was the thing that I was also thinking about too when we were talking about with him is like, do we have enough? How are we going to make sure that there is enough to talk about? So it was
Mm.
good advice.
Yeah, especially if you're not like a weekly format, like a weekly episodes, then there's always something to talk about when you're creative.
I've noticed with listening too, like, well, technically we got more listeners. So we used to do it. We started as like a bi-weekly show. Then we tried being weekly for a while, but that was a little unsustainable. And I also noticed that it didn't affect listener rates as much as I thought it might, because I think people maybe get enough Kirby just getting 1 or 2 episodes a month, which isn't to say that more content isn't always better, but I think it's the kind of thing that like some shows just make more sense in a weekly format and some are more like, oh, here's that thing that we're going to check back in with once a month. This is your monthly dose of Kirby, or this is your
Yeah, yeah.
bi-weekly dose of Kirby. But it's not, we're not following a news cycle in quite the same way, or there's not always something you need an immediate update on.
Mm.
And there's so many other podcasts out there. I encourage people to be listening to other things too, right? It's not like you have to listen to us all the time every week. So that might be, I think the sweet spot kind of has been once a month, maybe twice a month if we have something extra we want to drop in the feed. And we'll continue to play with that rate. But I thought it was interesting how it wasn't just like more episodes automatically meant more downloads, because I think people did feel a little bit like that was enough Kirby for the month in some cases. Did you have any other thoughts about being a creator in the context of a specific franchise or how you deal with having that kind of defined niche?
I feel like you just always have to find a balance. Like you can do the occasional video that is not about your channel. For example, if they would like announce a, let me say, A Hat in Time 2, the indie game A Hat in Time, I'm a very big fan of. And if they would announce A Hat in Time 2, I would be very tempted to make a video about it, even though it's not Kirby, obviously. But I feel like you just have to go by your feeling, basically. Like I'm very selective about the topics and videos I'm doing right now because of time, basically. So I'm always like in this mindset where I'm thinking I could like waste hours on a video that is probably not performing as good as the other ones, and I'm talking about something I like. Or I could also just talk about more Kirby, about more stuff I also like, and the video is performing better. So I feel like you just have to find this personal balance.
Yeah, I am a little concerned at times about being too much of the Kirby guy now that this is one of the main things I create. And back in the day, I was doing theater interviews and writing plays and doing different things, and I felt kind of like there's a bit more cohesion between my creative life and my professional life, and things are more in conversation with each other. And now I have this more partitioned view of who I want to be as a content creator, where if I do
Mm.
something in the theater space, I'm not really bringing the Kirby stuff into that space in the same way. Or when I'm teaching, I'm not really telling my students that their teacher has this Kirby podcast because I don't necessarily need them to go and look up all my stuff online. I just need
Yeah,
them to
yeah,
see me as
understandable.
their
Yeah.
teacher. So I think sometimes having this project, it's like, oh, well, I don't want to get too defined by it. I want to make sure I'm still doing other creative things too. Do you feel like you have other creative outlets to explore either other artistic projects you want to do or just sort of other kinds of content you want to make? Do you have spaces to do those? And if so, what are your other artistic hobbies?
Hmm. I was thinking about doing like another channel, like well, back in the day, I was starting the Kirby channel after like 1 or 2 years. I was thinking, maybe I should have like a second channel where I could put other stuff on it. But then again, as I was saying, like time is limited today, especially when you're a responsible adult. So I'm more I do want to become more this Kirby specific channel where people go to, and I think it's worth the loss of being able to express myself with other franchises. So basically, it's just yeah, the Kirby channel or the channel Kirby is just my whole creative output.
Do you have other hobbies outside of making videos?
I'm especially in the last 3 years, I really got into sports, like into I was like a endurance runner, but then I'm more like into gym, but not many special hobbies like the like doing work, doing the channel, doing sports, keeping myself fit. That's taking my whole life basically.
Mhm. Yeah. It's good to have active hobbies like that too, especially
Yeah,
since
definitely.
playing video games and recording stuff is more of a
Yeah,
sedentary hobby.
because I can imagine when you're hearing like someone has the Kirby channel, you're like imagining always a picture of the person in your head, and I don't know why, but I do not want to fall into this stereotype because I can imagine if someone is imagining me, is thinking of a probably relatively short and yeah, I don't know, not very like active person, I would say. So I do like to battle those stereotypes. This is also part of a reason why I'm trying to stay relatively fit.
Mhm. I suppose there are certain stereotypes maybe, and I think society is moving past those, which is nice, but certain stereotypes about what people who play video games look like, that maybe they never leave the couch or something, and maybe they're not, attending to other areas of their life in the same way.
Yeah,
So I think
definitely.
it's good that society is moving away from that, and video games are for everyone, and they definitely don't dominate someone's life. They
Yes.
don't take away from being able to have, an active life or making other healthy habits in their life. Like people can enjoy sedentary hobbies along with whatever else they do.
That's definitely true.
Mhm.
But also, people could not underestimate, or people should not underestimate how much time it takes to make videos. Like, I don't know what it's like for you, but for me, like making the videos is taking so much time. Even when you're not like doing heavy editing, it's still taking so much time. It's sometimes it can be exhaustive, but yeah, in the end, it's worth.
Yeah, it is time consuming to make these. Just adding in, so it used to be mainly just the audio, and we wanted to add in the YouTube, but it's inherently not a very visual product, and we just kind of know that. So that's a question we have still that we think about is like, how do we make this just a little bit more visual or more interesting? And we definitely don't get, anywhere near the kinds of numbers you get, but at the same time, bringing in those videos and, like, trying to figure out, like, well, what else could we do with the videos? That's like a whole separate project if we wanted to come up with something visual and edit in game footage and all that stuff. Like,
Hmm.
that's so time consuming, and I admire people who put in the time to do that really well, because it does
Yeah,
feel like
definitely.
it's already one project just to do the podcast. To be on YouTube and fully make that into a visual experience would be like a whole separate thing.
Hmm.
So, yeah,
That's
definitely
definitely
it
true.
definitely can be time consuming.
Hmm.
Mhm. And you don't have to tell us exactly where you work or anything like that, but what are you professionally interested in?
Um, I like to keep my personal informations as private as
Oh,
possible,
okay, yeah.
but to basically live with like a broader um, scope. I'm basically in. Let me just say I'm active in the business for a lack of a better term.
Okay, yeah. Mhm. Sounds good. And do you mind me asking what country in Europe you're in?
I'm from Germany. You can also see it on my channel, I think, like when you're going to the description of the channel. But if not, yeah, I'm from Germany.
Okay, yeah, that's where I thought. I just didn't wanna, say that if that wasn't right. And I was just curious what the Kirby scene is like in Germany. 'Cause I feel like
I
here in the
don't know.
United States, like, there used to not necessarily be a huge presence of Kirby, and now it feels like you can go into, like, a lot of stores and at just mainstream malls and stuff like that and see Kirby merchandise pretty widely available. So, What is it like in Germany as far as
I
like
think
Kirby's visibility?
I'm not like an expert on the economics of the Kirby franchise in Germany, but I would say it's probably pretty limited because back in the day I was also thinking about obviously doing the channel in my like mother language, but then I was like, huh. Back in the day I was like watching Let's Plays, and I feel like the Kirby Let's Plays were always a little less popular than like Mario, Pokemon, or Zelda. So and even like now when you're like going through towns and everything, I don't see much Kirby merchandise out here. So I would say it's probably like a B or C tier type franchise here.
What does tend to be the most popular in Germany right now?
I would say probably Nintendo wise, like the mainstream ones, probably like Zelda, Mario, but I would say Germany is more like a PlayStation country. Like people tend to play way more PlayStation. Xbox probably like less and less, but yeah, it's mainly focused on Sony.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard that about Europe in general. I know England, I think, is pretty into PlayStation more than they are into Nintendo.
I feel like the French people they are like a little bit more into Nintendo, but I'm not an expert. I don't know. I just my feeling.
Interesting.
Listen to Flashback 64, the chronological Nintendo 64 podcast. Hosts Gooey, McKenna, and friends flashback to the 90s and early 2000s with a look at the Nintendo 64's catalog and its contemporary cultural and historical context. Starting with the console's launch titles and proceeding in release order, we discuss classics like GoldenEye, Super Mario 64, and Star Fox 64, as well as some not-so-beloved games, lesser-known titles, and everything in between. Along with game-specific deep dives, we also cover other bits of pop culture from the time, like films, music, and more. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
And when you play video games or when you play Kirby, do you tend to play them in German or do you play them in English or another language?
Back in the day, I obviously like I have to switch the language to English when I'm like recording footage for the videos. And back in the day, I was switching back to German, but nowadays I'm not doing it anymore. Just it's too much of a hassle to switch the languages every time, so it's just English all the time.
We do sometimes like to look at how the names of characters are translated or like how they are across, different European languages and Japan and everything. And I feel like there have been a lot of really fun alternate names for things in German as we've looked at that over the years.
Yeah, there's like, for example, King DDD back in the day, when I don't know when it started or when it ended, but back in the day, King DDD was not King DDD. It was like, if I had to translate it in English, he was like King Napping, basically, or King Nap, something like that. And then they randomly decided to give him this real name. But nowadays, the names are pretty consistent with the original ones, I think.
Mhm. That's funny. One of my favorites is how the heavy lobster in German, or at least according to Wick Kirby, and I guess you can say whether this is true or not from your experience. The heavy lobster is the crabinator.
Oh, really? I didn't even know that. Let me check for myself. I didn't even know that because I. Ah, yeah, it's right. I didn't even know that. That's funny.
And in French, it's the lobster gunner. And in Italian, it's
True.
the mecha lobster.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I've always liked the
Probably
crabinator.
for those side characters, they probably maybe like not as consistent with the names, I would say.
Mhm. So he's not still King Nap.
Oh no, he's like King DDD since I would say the GameCube GBA days, but I'm not sure. But he was King Nap before that. Yeah, it was like I think like back in the day, the localization, like with every franchise, was not as consistent, and nowadays they tend to try to stay original to the script.
Yeah, on one hand, it's nice that there's more consistency to some of these characters, but I do miss some of the experimentation they had back then and how different things could be from game to game sometimes. I feel like those Shimamura games, for example, go in some kind of weird, surreal directions
Yeah,
sometimes in
probably.
Kirby.
It's also very random which game they tend to translate and which not. For example, The Forgotten Land, the title was actually translated in Germany, but Star Allies, Planet Robobot, Triple Deluxe were not. It's like very inconsistent. I think I don't know what's the Wii U game, the Rainbow Curse. It was also translated, I think. And obviously, like the Europe specific translations, for example, Kirby, what was it? Squeak Squad is like Kirby Mouse Attack in Europe.
I do like that as kind of a pun on Mass Attack.
Yeah, definitely.
That's funny. I hadn't heard of that. Mouse Attack and Mass Attack.
It's also, I think, Rainbow Curse. I think it's Rainbow Brush or something in Europe. So I don't know. They sometimes, occasionally, like to do that still.
Yeah, we could look it up. In the Rainbow Curse.
I think it should be like Rainbow Brush or something.
Yeah, Wick Kirby says Kirby and the Rainbow Paintbrush.
Yeah, something like that. Or for example, Kirby's Epic Yarn. In Germany, it was like Kirby and the Magical Yarn. Something like that.
Cool. I like that every place gets its own little flavor too. And obviously in English, it's in translation as well.
Yeah, they probably have their reasons, I suppose. Like, they have their data why they're doing something like that.
Mm-hmm. Maybe they did the YouTube alternate thumbnail thing. And they just
Yeah,
ran it past
probably.
the different countries and saw.
That would be amazing.
I wonder how that works with localization, like whether there is like focus group testing and if there's a certain like sensibility that they know certain countries
I suppose also like certain words or terms are like probably a little sensitive. Like for example, Rainbow Curse, maybe it has something to do with the word curse.
That's true. Yeah, or like in Japanese, it's touch! Kirby Super Rainbow. And
yeah,
maybe that just doesn't sound as good in English. I just say
yeah,
touch
probably.
Kirby
Yeah.
Super Rainbow. Like this is kind of awkward sounding, right? So
Yeah,
I think I like Rainbow Curse or Rainbow Paintbrush better.
yeah. I think Kirby and the Forgotten it is also like Kirby Discovery in Japanese.
Oh, that's actually a very exciting name. That kind of invites you to adventure.
Yeah. Yeah, but the Japanese titles are often very different. I think Smash Bros. Ultimate is also like Smash Bros. Special there.
Yeah.
So I think like there's also like this divide in the Western and the Eastern title, basically. They're still doing that.
So at this point, then, I guess maybe this is putting you on the spot, and I always hate ranking things to myself. But do you have like a top 3 favorite Kirby games at this point?
Oh, that's also always a tough question to ask or to answer.
And it could be this could be very broad. Like you don't have to assign 2 specifically or make it into a competition. But would you say that there are ones that are kind of at the top for you? Or a favorite?
For the sake of keeping my first place for a potential ranking video I want to do someday, I have a couple I definitely know, like my top 5, but I'm not 100% sure about the order. It's basically every day it could be different, but I would say my like top 5 are something like.
And if you don't want to spoil a future video you're making, you also don't have to tell us.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
Okay.
Just telling a couple ones. I'm not including Air Riders because it's like recency bias still. I think I'm still influenced by recency bias, so Air Riders not included. But my favorite Kirby games, I feel like my top 3 are definitely Air Ride, Amazing Mirror, and Superstar Ultra. And then I would probably say 64 and Forgotten Land.
I like those choices a lot. I like how high Amazing Mirror is on that.
Yeah, Amazing Mirror is like a top 3, probably. Mainly because I have like heavy nostalgia, like playing with my siblings and the link cable, and like in multiplayer, it was a very special experience back in the day.
It's so nice having that on the Switch now.
And yeah, that's true. I was always hoping for a remake because you could not play it with a multiplayer. Like no one is sitting with their Game Boys nowadays. So it's really nice to have a way to play it like the way it was intended.
Yeah, my favorite is Superstar. Kirby 64 is my second favorite, which is one that I know is kind of a divisive one among our group.
Yeah.
Not that we debate these in any kind of divisive way, but I
Mm.
know that that's one that's quite low on Bridget's list because for the pacing. But I've always really
Yeah, yeah.
enjoyed the slow, dreamy pace of that game.
Yeah, the feeling is very special in Kirby 64.
That's one that I go back to regularly, just if I want to unwind with something that I know is going to be relaxing and creative. And I really like the copy system in that game. It feels like you're doing something different, just moment to moment to moment.
Mm.
And third is a tricky one for me because I do think Air Riders creeps in with a certain amount of recency bias. So that's kind of maybe that. It's maybe Kirby's Dream Land 2. I also really like that one.
Oh, that's interesting. I feel like Dreamland 2 is always forgotten, kinda like in between 64, Dreamland 3, and Superstar.
Yeah, that was one that I had played as a kid, and then when I went back to play it again when we did an episode about it a while back, it really reminded me how good it is and how much I liked it, and I really hadn't
Mm.
remembered it that vividly from playing it many years ago, and was very pleasantly surprised by how much I enjoyed that one. I
Mhm.
also
It's
really
very
liked the
good.
Megalore epilogue, but I don't know how much I necessarily would rank the whole Return to Dreamland Deluxe as I think it's a good
Mhm.
game. I don't know that it's one I go back to again and again
Mhm. It's
in the
kinda a shame you
same.
cannot, like, play the epilogue. Like, there are no save files, if I remember correctly, so you have to always beat the game to have a fresh save file for the epilogue.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have more ways to play that one and do different runs in different ways and stuff like
Mm.
that. So, yeah, that 3rd place slot is a little blurry for me, but, like, maybe Dreamland 2, but
Mm.
probably changes depending on how I'm feeling in the moment.
Yeah, the Kirby games are just so consistently good. Yeah, like, every day there's a different one.
Mhm. Are there any games you feel like you've had a big change of heart about, or one that you used to feel one way about, but now you feel really different about,
Let me
for better or
think.
for worse?
Yeah, I feel like most of the time, like my opinion on a Kirby game generally does not change, but it's really weird. I'm always aware how good Triple Deluxe and Planet Robobot are, but whenever I'm playing them, they are way better than I remember for some reason. I don't know. Like it's like the different kind of, it's like not like I loved it and then I'm kind of mixed on it later. Every time I play Triple Deluxe and Planet Robobot, like my opinion on them is just I have more respect of those games.
Yeah, I know that there's like, I don't know how accurate or not this is, but aren't there these ongoing rumors that Robobot is going to be like remastered or re-released in some way? Like, I
Yeah,
don't know
yeah,
whether
there's
to
this
take that
rumor.
seriously at all. I think it is purely like gossip to some degree.
I probably think as well. I'm also that's a very funny coincidence because I'm working on a video right now about this topic. But basically, yeah, I also think it's like baseless because Kirby is one of the most bulletproof franchises when it comes to leaks. Like the only one it leaked was by Nintendo themselves. So I don't know if how anyone could know something like Planet Robobot HD so much in advance.
But yeah, I think it's just that it kind of feels true, right? But
Yeah, yeah, it
that's the way a
makes
lot of
sense.
things kind of feel that may not be. But it would be nice to see that
Yeah, that's true.
re-released again. That's one that I would be happy to play again in a remastered version, maybe with
Yeah.
some extra content thrown in or something.
Do you have a game where you like go back to and like your opinion changed?
I think Dreamland 2 might be the one that's like it went from being like I remember liking that as a kid, thinking well of it, but not necessarily thinking of it as like one of my favorite Kirby games ever. And then I went back and played through and felt like really, really positive about that. One that like I haven't replayed Dreamland 3 though since I was a kid really
Yeah, yeah, it
either.
has been very long for me as well.
And that's one that I do want to go back and play all the way through again. Like I've hopped into it sometimes in the Switch Online or something just to kind of play it a little bit again, but I haven't really played all the way through it again in
Mm,
a very long time. So that's one that I'm
yeah,
curious to see where I'm going to land on it.
yeah. I think like most people should probably revisit the old ones.
Yeah, I know that my tastes maybe do lean more toward the older ones, but Like Air Riders, I loved Air Riders. That's like very toward the top for me too. And I liked, Forgotten Land and stuff
if
like
I'm
that
if I'm
too.
going like by recent feelings and like without being objective whatsoever, Air Ride would be like a mega number one probably. But I try to wait a little more. Like recency bias is always a thing, even though it has been like 2 months, but the game is just as good as day one. So yeah.
We're trying to cover more of the competitive scenes for certain games too, like covering more Smash Brothers and covering more of the competitive Air Rider scene. And I think with that too, that's just a whole universe of content and stuff to learn about as well. So
Yeah, definitely. I think Air Riders probably also has I would say, relatively big competitive scene.
And it's interesting how the Air Riders scene is not exactly the same as the Air Ride scene, and it's almost this
Oh,
Smash
that's interesting.
Brothers, like sort of this ultimate and melee kind of thing going on, where there's some people that are like just melee players, right, and some people are just ultimate players. I think there's more of a group that's going to be the original Air Ride players,
Oh, that's
and a
interesting.
group
I
that's
didn't
going to
even
be
know
more the
that.
Air Riders players.
That's cool. It's cool that Air Ride has some reason to exist, even though Air Riders is there.
Yeah, I thought that maybe people would just move on to the newer one, but if you've learned that tech and you're used to how that game works and everything is still so specific to that game, even if it's part of the same series, I can see how
Yeah,
you master
apparently.
one thing and that's the thing you want to keep doing. And it's still fun.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you again for having this conversation, Given. It's been really good to meet you. Is there anything else you want to tell us about your channel, or anything else you want to plug or promote before we go? I'm just looking at the clock, and I know it's been about an hour now.
I would say probably there are always videos coming, even if like there's like a break. You can always expect a video. It's just always a matter of time. So when I'm not uploading consistently, it's just time. There will be a video, and yeah, you can expect a Planet Robot video in the future and a pretty huge Air Riders review, which will, even if when this episode comes out, will still take a couple of weeks.
Okay, nice. And we will have a link in our show notes to where people can find the channel. We definitely encourage people to subscribe to it. It's just a really good Kirby YouTube channel, full of really, really like well researched and well delivered, very, very polished production values. Really good research, really good channel. So I encourage people to check it out.
Thank you very much. It has been a pleasure.
Yeah, my pleasure too. So just to do our little outro here, this has been Kirby Conversations. I'm Sean Douglas. We were here with Given as our guest today from Channel Kirby. This show is also produced by Gigi from Wick Kirby and Bridget. Our show music is by Megan Kells in a new arrangement by Duncan Pixel T. Smith. And we are part of the Soundstone Podcast Network, along with Pixels and Polygons, Flashback 64, and now Nick McConnell's Instruction Derby as well. If you want to follow us, you can find us on YouTube too. We've got that in the show notes, along with our Blue Sky is our main social media handle, but you can also find us posting things on Instagram sometimes as well. And if you have any questions or comments about the show or ideas for what you'd like to see us cover in the future, please reach out to us at mail@kirbyconversations.com. Thanks for listening, and we will be back again soon with more Kirby Conversations. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Hey everyone, my name's Darren Hupke. I'm a writer, publisher, and podcaster. My podcast is called Pixels and Polygons. Each week I sit down with a guest and ask one simple video game question. It's a random topic each week and it leads to a fun conversation. You can find it on your favorite podcast platform every Friday, and you can read more about it at pixelsandpolygons.net.